what is the offense you want to see by the end of this camp heading into week 1?
Yeah, I want to see an offense that that can produce. That's the most important thing. Guys that are play efficient on first and second down, convert on third downs, do a really good job in the red zone. So what we want it to look like is efficient. We want it to look like what it needs to look like on college football Saturdays, which is clicking on all cylinders. And that's just going to take a lot of work, and it's going to be us coaches, getting the right guys into the right seats. But the accountability piece is going to be really important too, to not just have 11 starters. We need to have a lot more than that ready to go to contribute in the way that we need to win football games in the Big 12.
All right, awesome. Best of luck, head coach.
Apologies for jumping in late here, but just could you assess where the quarterback situation is right now?
Quarterback position, what we're looking for is the guy to make the winning football play. And we got 3 guys right now that are doing a good job. And they've done a really good job of all the things you ask them to do in the offseason, which is leadership, step up and be a leader when the coaches aren't around, study, those kind of things. So I think we're in a lot better position. There's been a tremendous amount of growth since when we started this thing in spring practice, and some things have obviously changed a little bit, but it's really going to come down to who can produce and make the winning football plays in practice.
How tough is it when you have so many new faces, so many new guys coming in to sort of evaluate and see and assess where things are at this stage of the game?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and you get that one a lot, and all of us football coaches and college, we all talk, and it doesn't necessarily mean just the staff here, but across the country. And, we're not unique in any way in relationship to having a bunch of new players. Where we might be a little bit unique is just the number, right? So 70-plus new faces. There's a handful of other teams that are similar. You kind of hear the reoccurring thing over and over, though. It's really about just developing that continuity, and you're trying to do things to set up a platform for those guys to become familiar with each other. And listen, you don't need whatever our number is, 115 players on our team. We don't need all those guys to be best friends, but we need to have a certain level of respect and the ability to hold each other accountable. And that's really what we've been working on the last few months as we build into this season. And then when we get into practice now, we're back in training camp, it's going to be more about production, right? And it's not easy when you have a bunch of new faces and names escape you too as a coach as well. And I can't even imagine for a new guy that got here, a few weeks ago, that we're not going to give these guys tests on everyone's face to put it to a name, but at the same time, that's going to be really important to carry over into training camp as well.
Another quarterback-related question, if I can. You obviously want to name a guy. You want to have a guy get as many first-team reps as possible. How do you balance that with not trying to rush into things and force the issue?
Yeah, good question. Ultimately, it's going to come down to, we said earlier, it's going to come down to who's making the smartest and the best quarterback plays. There is a little bit of patience you need to have and do right by decision making for the offense and the team of putting the right person in that place. But we do have a sense of urgency. I think that's important to know, that there's a sense of urgency to get those things dialed in, and there's a sense of urgency not just for the quarterback position group, but for all position groups. It's a blank slate. We haven't really decided any starter at any position, so it's a blank slate, and there's competition at every spot. And the cool thing about competition is, it brings out the best in most people, so that'll be fun to see.
When do you think it would be ideal to get that? Obviously, you can't rush it, as you mentioned, and patience is virtue with it. But when do you want to eventually establish, or when do you think is an ideal time to establish that as you grow chemistry with the team?
I'm kind of hearing 2 questions. When is it most ideal?
Yeah, when is
yesterday, right? What's fair right now? I would think you're going to start to know a little bit more about that position after the first couple. We're practicing. Let's put it this way: we'll get about 6 practices in within the first week of training camp. I think that's going to give you a general idea of where things are at, and then we'll go from there. I don't really think that you want to look at it from what the set date is. It's really day by day when it comes to that. But just know this: there's a sense of urgency to figure all quarterback, or really all position groups, competitions. We need to figure those out. Sense of urgency.
Speaking about the position groups, spoke with Coach Frost earlier. He said it's open for everybody, even the freshmen. I mean, talk about, are you comfortable with the idea of these freshmen getting in there and competing with some of these veterans for starting jobs?
Yeah, I don't think that really makes a difference if you're 18 or you're 24. It's a wide spectrum of age group now. I think that the big thing is just who's the most productive. I get it. I look at the numbers. I mean, the production level from our team compared to the rest of the Big 12 for returners is the lowest, right? So the guys that are going to play are going to be the ones that do the right things every day in practice. I know that's cliche, but I think that's the most important thing is who's the most consistent, consistently productive.
Coach Don Struble, SB Nation, pleasure to meet you.
Hey, what's up, man?
You've probably been asked this already, but now that you've traveled the road of the transfer portal and NIL, and that's out of the way, how good does it feel to have the continuity, knowing that the roster is in place at this late stage?
Yeah, it feels really nice not to have to worry about a different transfer portal before we play a season. That's something that people a lot smarter than me are going to figure out as we go. But yeah, it's good to have our team, our team set.
Yeah. In terms of the quarterbacks, how have you seen the room grow just from the beginning of spring to this point? And would you say that, especially, are they developing like good leadership skills and roles that you like to see in terms of intangibles?
Yeah, probably the biggest areas is general understanding, and I'm not just talking about our schemes, but general understanding of situational football. Those are things that we've spent. I mean, it's what you can do in the off season. You can talk about those things. You can have meetings on them. So that's gotten a lot better. And you asked a question about leadership. I do see some growth there. What will be exciting to see is those guys apply that to real football on the practice field here in training camp.
Yeah, with opening day getting close to a month away, we talked to Coach Frost earlier about having a sense of urgency but also maintaining patience. How difficult is that balance between the two to, continue to mold these guys and grow them slow, but also like, hey, we're right around the corner, we need to get going?
Yeah, it's a good question because you certainly want both, right? You want to have the patience to make a good decision. Really, it just comes down to, all right, how much more information can we acquire before we make a decision? Is that really going to outweigh the pro of being, having a sense of urgency? Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to rise and conquer every single day, and we're going to figure things out as we go. It's important to have a sense of urgency, not just with the quarterback spot, but also all areas that we got to make a decision on. So it's really something that we're just going to have to keep checking in on day in, day out.
Kind of to Andrew's question regarding the freshmen, how has it been to see their growth, and how would you evaluate how they've been able to grow up and transition into this new system? A lot of these guys, like Tavion, they were stars in high school, and now they come to the college landscape where it's obviously a much tougher competition. What have you seen from them?
Just all our freshmen.
Yeah, just in general from the young guys.
Yeah, I think they're in a unique position where you're coming into a program, which there's no secret that our returning production is the lowest in the Big 12. I think I saw that stat somewhere, which I think is great because that opens up opportunity for competition that might not necessarily people talk about it, coaches talk about it, but it isn't always really a thing. Like, yeah, there's open competition. I think it's really real for us. That helps us with the conversations that we get to have with our guys. Look, there's opportunity here, and it's not BS, right? It's real. So as you mentioned, Swint be a great example. Here's a guy that has flashed a lot of cool things since he's gotten here. Obviously, he was dealing with some things injury related in the spring, but I'm excited to see what he can do when we actually play real football.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's super low returning production, but of the guys who did come back, what can be said about their leadership and the adjustment to what this new coaching staff wants out of the culture?
Yeah, I think about, as you said that, I think of guys like Miles Montgomery, I think of Paul, guys that have been here, and they've been a tremendous asset for us as a staff because those are guys that do everything right, and they're good leaders. They speak up when things don't seem right. So it's just it's really nice to have some guys like that within the program still, even though, to your, like what we said earlier, is just not a ton of production coming back. But that doesn't necessarily have to be seen as a negative, too.
Coach, I just want to ask one last question.
Sure.
Talk about the running back room. You have guys, veterans like Montgomery, Nixon. You have younger guys like Gage and Swin coming in. Do you have like an ideal? I spoke with Frost and maybe Coach Reveal about an ideal usage for those guys in a rotation. Do you want on the field?
Yeah, no, great question. From my experience, you need to have a deep running back room because you're always 1 to 2 plays away from having to get to your fourth or sometimes even your fifth running back. Listen, those guys get tackled, right? That's what this game is, right? It's blocking and tackling. So the running backs get tackled a little bit more than every other position. That's when guys get hurt at times. So it's important that we have depth. Now, exactly what that looks like in relationship to this number of reps, this percentage of reps, We haven't really gotten there. It kind of goes without saying. We're trying to build some depth and continuity at all position groups. Now, I think maybe to get in a roundabout way to answer your question, you know that Miles and Jaden are both seniors, and then you know that Swint and Stacy Gate, we have some younger backs as well. So I think that's smart, just in general, to still try to build out your class to where you have some older guys and some younger guys.